Well, thank
Welcome to the Slim Nation 101's podcast.
Yeah.
Well, welcome everyone to the Slim Nation 101's podcast. I'm Slim Overton, and I'm here with a repeated guest, Garry Harris, the scientist. And as you can see, scrolling across the bottom of the screen there, you can see all the other things, all the other titles he holds, and the other things he does. But he's been here, and I think the last time I looked, it was about 7 months ago, and we talked about several things. We talked about a project that was uh, funded by the state and the forestry, as I can remember, for mapping, specifically for Portsmouth, I think, for a mapping project. And you can explain what that mapping project is and where they are now. So, Garry Harris, thanks a lot. I think this is about the third or fourth time we have done this, and I told you in the beginning that I was wanted to have you back repeatedly because the climate is something that's important that we need to have a conversation about as often as we can, especially with things going on. So we'll get into quite a few things. Guy has some other things he wants to introduce to the audience today, and so Garry, and we have something coming up. Is that date? I mean, with the snow, I forgot to say. It's funny that we're talking about the warming of our climate and the warming of the city of Portsmouth, particularly because last year he reported that Portsmouth was the second hottest city in the state of Virginia. So, but now I look outside. There's snow on the ground. We had about 9 inches here in Portsmouth and throughout the Hampton Roads area, different cities got up to about 12 inches. So, but one thing I was talking to Gary about before we came on, we got the fair warning, the correct predictions from our weather people. So hopefully, and we'll get into this later, hopefully the new administration doesn't try to get into the weather, the national weather system and try to change that because that's important, because it had everybody prepared what was going to happen. Just what they said, that's pretty much what we got, as far as inches of snow. But anyway, the snow is here, but we're still warming. All you can remember if you lived in the Hampton Roads area and throughout the country, we had some really hot days that were breaking records in some areas. So, Gary, talk about bring us up to date, especially with that mapping funding that you got, or you can start any way you want to
Yeah,
as
yeah.
far as the climate.
Well, well, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me and our organization and the folks that we represent here in the program. I think this may be about our third or fourth time and such, and I'm really feeling at home, really feeling blessed and special to be here this morning and such. And yeah, we got plenty of snow last night, but that's weather. And weather is what happens from day to day, and you're spot on in terms of having the scientists and the tools and the techniques and the specialists, meteorologists, both the broadcast type, and the ones who do the actual predictions, and the ones who man the National Weather Service. That combination, keeps us safe. They were spot on. Saying that that the weather uh, for yesterday will provide us with snow, 9 to 12 inches in some places around Hampton Roads, when it was going to start, when it was going to stop, etc. So those are critical services. Because we all have to prepare, but more importantly, those folks who perform those critical functions, those essential services, you know, like hospitals, and healthcare centers, and transportation services and such, they all rely on the weather. So keeping the weather service properly manned, uh, and ensuring it has proper capability and capacity is essential. Is critical, to everybody's life function and such. So indiscriminately cutting folks from NOAA and from the National Weather Service, and from FEMA, etc. Lowers that sort of capacity that we have and that resilience. So therefore we need to be careful about that. So because we're here to talk about climate this morning and such, and we need to be building resilience to climate, and not tearing down those barriers. So anyway, good morning, y'all. Garry Harris, I'm Managing Director for the Center for Sustainable Communities. We're all about making communities greener, cleaner, healthier, safer, and more climate resilient through equity and environmental justice and such. And I'm here this morning to talk about several things, but as James teed up, last year we initiated a project in Portsmouth called Cool Down P Town. You know, and why is that? It's because we recognize not only in Hampton Roads but across the nation that extreme heat, is a huge factor that we have to consider in our preparedness and also in our daily lives as well. The number of days which temperatures are exceeding a standard range of temperatures, say it's 100 degrees or so, is increasing. And so we saw that last year that we had some of the hottest days ever recorded. And this was done by NASA and other folks and Weather Service, who monitor this. It's getting hotter out there. And what does that really mean? What's the real concern when it gets hot? Well, there's several things that we need to consider. First and foremost, we have folks out there working in these temperatures and such. That we look at the folks at the airport and even the folks who are driving our UPS trucks and our mail folks. They're out there working in these temperatures and all day, every day in the summertime. So therefore, they need to be afforded protections. But more than that, we're looking at let's think about grandma, in grandmama's house, and typically in places like Portsmouth and other similar towns and such, grandmama got that house a long time ago, and she's got her ornaments, she's got her pictures of Martin King and JFK and Malcolm X, in the living room and that sort of thing, and those features. But really nothing else has been done to grandma's house. Grandma's house she's still got that air conditioner, from maybe 10, 15 years ago. She hasn't had the opportunity or the money, to put insulation in her walls or in the roof or in the attic, etc. there. Her house hasn't been air sealed, so therefore, it's leaking a lot, so sometimes when you stand in the door or through the windows, you feel this cold air coming in right now from the outside.
Mhm.
But grandma's house is really leaking a whole lot more than that. So grandma is living maybe not in a healthy home or in a healthy environment. So so that and also grandma may have some ailments going on right now, but just like other folks from vulnerable populations, particularly African American populations. She's got the high blood pressure going on right now. She's got the diabetes going on right now. God bless her. She's got some other ailments. And she's living in that house, and she's on the fixed income, etc. So those are compounding factors, that grandmama and other folks have to live under a daily basis. So when you add on top of that extreme heat and other climate impacts, oh man, it's just some serious stressors, that our folks, particularly in our underserved communities, have to deal with, in their economic factors, and their increased healthcare burden, and there's impacts on our infrastructure, and there's economic considerations and consequences as well, you know, and the list goes on in terms of impacts from extreme heat. So we've got to be we better deal with it. Not and, when it gets hot, everybody gets hot. Not just the folks in church that are getting hot, or the folks in trucks that are Cabinet Mountain are getting hot. Everybody's getting hot. So we've got to prepare for this with some short term, intermediate term, and long term interventions. Eventually, yeah, we want to plant some trees, but we also want to get city council behind this to get some policy. Maybe something that says, hey, if grandmama has an air conditioner that's 10 years old, the city will provide a discount, or some sort of financial incentive, so that grandmama can get a discounted air conditioner. And also maybe the city wants to say, well, let's just do an assessment of our cooling centers, i.e. places where people can go, when it gets really hot outside and such, because the air conditioner is not working, or they simply don't have air conditioning, they need places to go. So the city says, okay, well, let's do an assessment of our cooling centers and our capacity there and such. So anyway, so extreme heat is extremely important. Not only that, extreme heat is the number one cause of death related to climate change. We just saw the floods in Kentucky. We just had the snowstorm here and such. Tornadoes and hurricanes. In abundance. But guess what? It's extreme heat. And that causes, for a number of reasons that we just talked about, that causes these deaths associated with climate. So we've got to be prepared. We've got to act, and we got to act now when the snow is on the ground. We can't wait till the middle of the summer, and start saying, oh, what are we going to do? That sort of thing. We need to start acting now. So that's why on March 8th, we're coming together. We're bringing together the scientists, the engineers, the activists, the advocates, the educators, the faith leaders and such. And we're convening at New Bethel Baptist Church in Portsmouth to talk about the results of our mapping mapping exercise, as well as to talk about why is this important to you, and put folks in focus groups to talk about what sort of short, intermediate, and long-term interventions we need, etc. And also we're gonna take some action that day. We're gonna plant some trees and put in some air sensors for our Breathe Better Portsmouth project, etc. Which we'll talk about in a moment here. And also we're actually taking that church and we're transforming it into something called a resilience hub. We'll talk about that in a minute. But we're coming together, especially because we put folks in cars last year and they drove around the city, 6 routes with instruments mounted on their vehicles and such. And those instruments looked at temperatures and humidities and and gathered all that data, from practically from practically every neighborhood in the city, or at least some targeted neighborhoods where we know some vulnerable populations are and such. So it gathered all that data. We shipped it off to some smart folks, and now they've brought us back some interesting findings and such, and we want to share those with the public. But not only share that and that will point out basically where the hot spots are around the city, and from there we can figure out what action to take. But it's not only that sharing of data and such, but also it's a time for folks to come together. This is a special moment in time for us here in the nation and such, and we need to convene for healing. We need to convene for uplift. We need to convene for sharing. We need to convene for our emotional well-being as well. So we're coming together for that sort of supportive ecosystem as well. And we're going to have great panelists, et cetera, et cetera. So we're excited about it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let me mention this. Let me mention this because you said this last time we had you on the show.
Yeah.
And for those who might not look at climate as one of their top priorities, but you mentioned something. I want to say this to the people that are watching there and people you might share it with, that not that interested in climate, especially when you get all these different views about what climate is. But you
Yeah.
mentioned something about the heat also. It's been studied and shown that crime
Oh,
rises.
yeah.
When you have extreme heat.
Right.
So
Right.
if you don't care about the climate, or hearing about the scientific views of it, and
Uh-huh.
you're concerned about crime, you might want to attend this event as well. Because a lot of things are factored in because of the heat.
Ex-
And
ex-
if crime is one of them, and crime is a high priority on your list, then you need to start paying attention to what these scientists are saying. And one other thing, it used to be a point where when you start talking about the climate and the scientists giving all their data, it wasn't an issue, you know, to get funded, or people didn't worry about it. Say it came from the scientists. Now it's become like a political playground for some politicians, and so we just have to be mindful of paying attention to what our scientists say. I mean, they've studied this thing, they've gone to school for it, and you know, all those political views have to be put to the side, so we can really think about the future of your children. It might not even be something that we see, but it could be something that we can start for the future of our children. It's a serious thing, the climate. So I just wanted to throw that in for those people that not that interested in climate, but to just see how many other things factor in with the climate, especially crime.
Absolutely. The list goes on and on. And I think we shared via social media, and also had some direct conversations with the police chief. You know, um, about extreme heat and climate and its impacts on public safety. And to my not to my surprise, but he knew about it. He I didn't have to convince him. I said, well, we're doing this, and this could be a contributor, to public safety. The more we cool down Portsmouth, scientists have shown that there's a direct link between public safety and crime and extreme heat. So therefore, if we lower extreme heat, that's a small incremental factor, but yet everything matters. There's a cumulative effect here when it comes to public safety. So therefore, this could be a contributor and such. And he already knew that. He said, but anyway, it was a refresher for him. It was a reminder, and he took action on it as well. He make sure so some of his folks were available to participate in these activities, etc. But the list goes on and on. It affects our food supply. It affects our quality of life in so many different ways. It affects transportation, infrastructure, economics. Right now the Hampton Roads region is putting together their first regional climate action plan and such. And right now, folks up until February 24th can contribute to that. They can tell their stories about climate, whether it's from sea level rise or from severe weather factor, including extreme heat. They can have input into this important process. It is so important, again, for African Americans to get involved in these processes. I preached and preached and preached, about the folks have to get involved in zoning and planning and other processes, not only locally in Portsmouth, but regionally as well. So the Hampton Roads planning transportation commission. Uh, I screwed that up, but nonetheless, the Hampton Roads folks over there who do regional planning. I should know that. I'm on the community advisory committee for those folks, but they're doing planning all day long, and now they're doing a regional planning around a climate action plan. They got funding from the federal government to do this. It's our first regional climate action plan. That they've had webinars, and now they have a survey out. And that survey is due by February 24th. So we need to take action. We need to get involved in these processes which are important to our communities and such. We can't let others make the decisions for us. We've got to make decisions by being part of these processes. And climate is extremely important. So they're doing that at the local level here. They're doing that at the state level as well. So you have two chances to get involved. So again, one way of mitigating these effects of climate, including extreme heat, is through policy. So we can have policy at the city level, at the regional level, and at the state level, and those policies crank out standards and measures, and in some cases even some laws and such, and funding for projects as well. So getting involved is paramount here as well.
Yeah, and two shows ago, you mentioned we had a conversation about tidal flooding and that issue, and I guess that's still an issue too, because
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
and as you talk about legislation locally, what might happen here won't happen in Northern Virginia.
Uh-huh.
So you just have to be aware. My point is your local politics. I mean, your local concerns are important too to
Oh yeah,
know.
oh yeah.
The national things trickle down, but
Uh-huh.
first it starts with your local people. You have to know the area you're living in, and you're talking about heat, and it's also tidal flooding that we have to deal with because we're a coastal city.
We're working with we've helped to create a Mid Atlantic regional consortium that looks at the effects of that on coastal communities and such. We want our coastal communities, particularly our residents, to be involved in standing up, resilience planning, and other planning types of measures to ensure that their communities are not made vulnerable and made more resilient, to the aspects of sea level rise, and flooding, et cetera, et cetera. So again, we have a Mid Atlantic consortium that we help to put together, consisting of Virginia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and such, and their grassroots organizations come together for themselves, learn about flooding and learn about sea level rise, and learn about other coastal aspects, when it comes to climate and such. So we're rolling that project out right now. Example, in Portsmouth, we had something called a Just Science Fest meet and greet and such, and this is where we put out the word for folks to come to City Park, and participate in a citywide community science project where we gave folks maps on phones and apps on phones, and they were able to really measure sea level rise for themselves through the king tide, and that data was sent to scientists, who again interpreted the data and analyzed, evaluated, which will help us to provide other interventions as well. So we had this down at City Park. It invited folks to come down. We had some come down, but we wanted more. But nonetheless, we had this science community, citywide community science gathering. At the same time, that there are solutions in nature, which help to prevent flooding, and such, act as buffers, etc. We explored nature-based solutions in terms of living shorelines, etc. So it was a great event, and had some food as well at City Park in Portsmouth. And so again, you know, uh, and we plan on taking that Just Science Fest and growing it into a larger science festival, around these themes of climate and environmental justice, and equity and such. And typically, at a science festival, we're dissecting frogs and that sort of thing, and smelling chemicals and making things explode and etc. But our science festival is going to be about these climate things that you talked about, in our vulnerable communities, and providing interventions and measures. Example, instead of having a display on physics and styrofoam balls and stuff like that, we can have a display on measures to fix spam in my house. Maybe some caulking, giveaways. Maybe some techniques to how to air seal the house. Maybe somebody there giving away coupons for installation, etc. So we're going to have a Just Science Fest here. Uh, we had the meet and greet to try and tee things up, and now we're putting together a citywide plan, to bring science into this as well. What we call just science,
Yeah.
and yeah,
And it's so important, I think, what you do too, to include Victory Elementary in their STEM program that goes on there, the star based program, because those kids they're going to be the ones that'll be continuing on what you all are doing there, and to
yeah,
get the kids interested in, just like you just said, get them interested in science and believing in it,
uh-huh.
believing in it, and not going for all the rhetoric that's out there that science is not, it's not true, but getting them to believe in it, early on in their life, and study it. So including them is a big part of what you all do, I think. So I think you should be applauded for that.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I've been in STEM education for a long period of time, and almost since I've come out of undergrad. I'm involved in some community-based program, and that got youth engaged in science, through STEM and STEAM programs and such. Creating the Smart Academy. Now we're doing Just Science and Just Science Scholars and such. But I was talking with somebody last night about this. That we got into science early on and such, and we enjoyed it. We went off to colleges, universities, but we kind of forgot to bring that other generation along with us.
Yeah.
So now there's a real gap. You
Mm.
go to these conferences and such, and there are very few African Americans present. And part of that is because we didn't do that great of a job in engaging our youth in these discussions and making sure that they were involved and going to classrooms, and bridging career opportunities, making sure that we're getting coaching and mentoring and internship opportunities. But we're doing that, because we understand that we got to prepare the next generation. So we've created something called Just Science Scholars and such, and we're doing it primarily at the university level, college level. Uh, we work closely with Virginia Western University over there, and so I've knighted students over there as Just Science Scholars. We had a classroom last year support us in our Breathe Better Portsmouth project. But it's important. It's very important that we stop and take time, and hold ourselves accountable, for getting this next generation engaged and involved. So we've created not only a Smart Academy Center of Excellence, and work with fraternities and 100 Black Men, over the years and such. But now I'm excited about our Just Science Scholars and such. And heard, unfortunately, fortunately, and quickly here, they've gone off to do some great things. They've worked, in the federal government, et cetera, et cetera. Unfortunately, a couple of them heard from them this week. Mr. Harris, they laid me off. Mr. Harris, you know, can you help me out? We've got them through college, giving them internships, coaching, mentoring, even put money in their pockets, and then they went off and got federal jobs, and now, because of probationary firing and such, they're the last hired for first fired, unfortunately, to meet someone's quota here. So anyway, we're trying to search around and find positions for them. But science is still where it's at. Our Just Science program, we use science, engineering, technology, data science, research, and such to help uh, come up with just solutions, okay, for vulnerable and underserved communities to help mitigate the impacts of climate, environmental justice, and also health disparities as well. You're spot on, in that.
Yeah. So how, and as far as the Virginia legislature, are you still getting the support you need from them? Because as we talk, we don't know what's going to come down from the national uh, as they try to cut funds. Hopefully, they don't cut into, you know, something that's been going on for a long time. But you do have people that don't believe in science. But what about the Virginia legislature? Are you still, because that's where some of your funds came from in the first place? So.
Well, yes, came from the Department of Forestry for the state of Virginia. I have to mention that there's been a pause put on those funds, but you know what? We are pressing on. This is too great of an issue to be paused by someone who doesn't understand and doesn't want to understand the climate impacts, particularly on underserved communities. And that's our focus. You know, uh, uh, with our Cool Down P Town project, we actually use a tool called CGIST to identify vulnerable populations in areas within the city of Portsmouth, and that if you layer on uh, extreme heat, could really degrade the quality of life, in those cities. So it was the tools like that came from the federal government that helped to. Let alone the resources and funding that helped to equip us to make this possible. But in terms of the state legislators, oh yeah, it was just at the Capitol uh, last week, 10 days ago, I think it was, and such, because I was on my way to South Carolina, uh, when we had a rally at the state capitol around clean energy and such, and Congresswoman Jennifer McCullum was there, along with a host of senators and state legislators and such. Then it was me, so I had to quickly put on my uh, hat, which allowed me to talk and walk in that space, etc. Not as a lobbyist and such, but as a concerned citizen, and,
Yeah,
and as an organization that cares
a, a
about clean energy.
knowledgeable, concerned citizen.
I'm sorry.
A knowledgeable, concerned
Well,
citizen.
it's inspired, and that sort of thing. But we had a great rally at the state capitol. Again, a number of state senators were there, Congress people were there, uh, uh, from both sides of the aisle and such, talking about climate. And but we're also getting, and I want to give a shout out to our activists and advocacy organizations as well. We were fortunate enough in the Biden administration to create an ecosystem, okay? And this ecosystem consisted and now still consists of a bunch of support organizations, large support organizations, which came together to ensure organizations like ours, had the capacity to carry out the mission of climate, to carry out the mission of environmental justice and such. So that those ecosystems still exist today and such, and they're still helping us out, particularly now in these times where a lot of our funding is on pause. And honestly, I have millions of dollars on pause right now. We were very fortunate enough during the Biden administration to get dollars from the federal and state government and such. All of that has been put on pause, and but we're still carrying on the mission. We're not pausing that, so we're doing what we can you know. So it's a combination of yes, those state legislators, still pushing through great policy and still coming to rallies, and still having their doors open to talk about climate and still showing the concern, and then our ecosystem which we built, which consists of some great large organizations who are still doling out the resources and doling out, the help and assistance and such, and then it's our camaraderie organizations who have like-minded goals, and like our colleges, universities, for instance, like Virginia Wesleyan University, and Georgia Tech and others, are still giving us opportunities, still helping to build our capacity. So the funding is going away, but our ecosystem of help and assistance is still here, which consists of our state legislators. The state legislators did pass a recent significant clean energy legislation. I'm not sure where it is, but it's as I recall, it's called the Cage Act, I believe. But anyway, let's just call it significant clean energy legislation, uh, and we're looking to get some updates on that as well.
Gary, as you talk about environment, you got the natural environment, then you have the man-made environments
Or
that
the built environment.
were
Yeah.
created that want healthy for people.
Right.
Having certain things near certain communities
Right.
and there was a health study that just put out by the Portsmouth Health Department, and they in one part of the study they showed certain zip codes that where health problems were more prevalent than others,
Yeah.
and it is directly related to man-made environments. You
Uh,
know, it, directly next to communities,
right.
which created a health issue and put a
Right.
strain on the natural resources that
Uh-huh.
the environment just creates it on its own.
Right.
So I guess all of that's a part
Oh yeah.
and people don't realize how
Oh yeah.
much, and you can't say it enough, how much everything is included in what we need to be looking at or be aware of as far as the environment is
Oh yeah.
concerned,
Oh yeah.
man-made and natural. And you mentioned about trying to naturally uh, say by planting trees or near the shorelines, planting certain things that stop or slow down the erosion. You know, uh, and the heats with certain, you remember a long time ago when people would get certain breathing diseases, the doctor would suggest that they go to another area in order for
Yeah.
them to
Uh-huh.
survive. He said, if you
Yeah.
stay
Yeah.
here, you're
Yeah.
not going to survive.
Yeah.
And it was directly related, if they were in a city, to the
Uh-huh.
man-made environment that
Uh-huh.
really hurt people health wise. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Well. It is about the built environment. Because even extreme heat. Our built environment. Has created things like the heat island and heat island effects. Through due to large concrete, long, large due to concentrations of certain materials, like concrete and asphalt, tend to absorb energy, and then radiate it back out and such. And this causes a localized effect called the heat island effect. So the more that we building up buildings is great, the expansion, et cetera, but also at the same time, it can create hot spots of of uh, of uh, of high temperatures and also dis, discomfort associated with the urban heat island effect. So there's a and also I was on a panel. I was on a discussion yesterday about the fact that two different organizations around the country, the USGBC and also the Living Futures organization itself, all of those have to do with creating sustainable buildings, and ensuring that those buildings, once designed and built and deployed, and don't have adverse impacts on populations, particularly underserved populations. Matter of fact, we're trying to design buildings now such that that they're actually providing benefits to communities, and not causing harm, because of the types of materials that they're constructed off of, causing and ways in which they're constructed and such, even how they're what color they are, not causing harm like extreme heat impacts and urban heat islands. So we actually sit on a national roundtable, which looks at, ensuring that equity, is centered in these designs of these buildings, just that they're built in a sustainable way. Matter of fact, last year we have to work with an organization to create an app, and this app is given to architects and designers and also constructors as well, which forces them to ask the question, well, hey, if I build this building here, how is it gonna how is it gonna harm this community? How is it going to impact this community? How is it going to benefit this community and such? So we actually developed an EJ app, that now architects use, in their designs and such. So yeah, it's all interrelated, and particularly this built environment and such, and the built environment expands everywhere from our communities. I mean, from the homes in our communities to the communities themselves, to how cities are designed, how buildings are designed. In our case, in Hampton Roads, how ports are designed, et cetera, et cetera. All of that has contributors to climate and environmental impacts. We've got to make sure that one, that there are on ramps into the design process and on ramps into the development process, which allow for public engagement, interaction, and hearings and such, and intervening in those design processes. We just don't want to take a big, large thing and sit it beside grandmama's community and such without doing those sorts of assessments. And well, I don't want to bring this up. Well, yeah, I will. When we asked the casino project in Norfolk, no. We asked the casino project in Portsmouth. We asked the casino project in Norfolk to do a environmental justice study about their impacts on localized communities. The project in Norfolk did one. They did one. I'm not sure how adequate it was, but they took that extra step, to say, hey, if we build this here, there could be some adverse impacts, so the Indian tribes and others, saw the need to make that happen. But again, that's why we're having this convening on the 22nd. One, to maintain that mindset, that what we do in our communities, and could have an adverse impact, and we need to be part of the processes too, that climate is real, and it's happening and such, and we need to help be the designers of interventions, both short term, intermediate term, and long term as well. And three, we need to plan for the long term, and actually take action in terms of planting trees. So we need folks. We want to try and plant 500 trees around the city of Portsmouth and such as a long term intervention process. So we want to plant trees and plant shrubs and pull up concrete and such, and put in place some other interventions. So we need folks to volunteer to say, I want a tree in my yard. I want a tree at my school. I want a tree at my business. Because trees do so much for us. So much for us. In terms of flood prevention, in terms of shading, and giving off oxygen and such. They're just friendly buddies. We need more buddies in this world, so we need to plant more trees as well. But what this leads me to another thing, just quickly here, in terms of the built environment. We need to actually establish facilities in our communities, as part of the built environment, to handle these stressors and such, from day-to-day activities, and also from climate and health issues as well. So at New Bethel Baptist Church, I'm proud to announce the fact that we are building a resilience hub. Okay, and this resilience hub is going to be a standalone facility, multi-million-dollar standalone facility, that provides benefits to communities. The built environment and such, provides benefits to communities, in a multimodal fashion. Whether it be doing normal operations or doing the actual stressor event, and that stressor event can be a health event or a climate related event or a fire, etc. And then in the recovery phase as well, it's going to have solar and batteries and maybe even a microgrid and EV charging and such. But it's going to be a symbol. We're going to green the church, and from stem to stern. But at the heart of this will be this resilience hub, and at this resilience hub, we're going to have doing normal operations. We're going to have enhanced programming to build resilience in the community. What does that look like? What do we need in communities? We need food. We need workforce development. We need economic development. You know, we need a place for counseling, etc. So we're going to have enhanced programming through the church doing normal operations, to help build resilience in the community. Then during emergency situations, what do we need? Like snowstorms. Well, the church could convert itself into what? A place of shelter for those who forced out of their homes due to loss of power, etc. Due to the snowstorm or during extreme heat, it can turn itself into what? A cooling center.
Mhm.
Or during a tornado and hurricane. What? It can provide a place of refuge, shelter, food, communications. Charge your cell phone. All that sort of stuff. All right, and then in the recovery mode, helps with FEMA, and other folks, get folks reestablished back in the community. So that's the long and short of it. A resilience hub. We're so excited about building that, you know, in the community and in the community where I grew up as well.
Yeah, yeah, and another thing with environmental science is something that's a part of your daily life, or in housing. You notice in every new housing now, you see a retention pond, and it's not there just for the beauty of it, because a lot
No,
of a lot of retention ponds, you see the sprinkler systems and the
yeah, you
plants,
see that.
the vegetation they they
Yeah,
plant around it, but that's actually serving a purpose there
that's right.
as
That's
far as
right.
runoff, and so environmental science came and gave those reports. Now, most cities, I mean, probably every city, if you build a new complex like or housing complex like that, you have to have a retention pond.
Yeah.
And most people look at it like, oh, that's nice. They put a nice little pond out there, but it's there for it's there for more a reason than the aesthetics.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's because you put all that concrete in place there.
Yeah.
Again, the built environment. Before you would have that water when it rained and it would percolate into the ground and refresh the ground, the underground reservoirs, etc. Now that you put that big building in place and that parking lot in place and that parking deck in place, that water can't find its way in there. So it can lead to flooding, and other harms like that. So you have to have the retention pond in place, and you have the pumps pumping the water up in the air, such that it becomes stagnant, start smelling odors and stuff like that. Keeps it oxygenated and stuff like that. But also keep in mind that you know that when those pumps are blowing that water up in the air, you see it drifting.
Hmm.
So that could be a loss, a little bit of a loss there and such to the local aquifer and such. And then at the same time, uh, I don't want to talk on a turn here and such, but again, so you are pumping water. Some of that is maybe coming from the underground aquifer. So you got water coming up into the reservoir and then being thrusted up into the air. You have drift. So if you look at that, you can have loss of water from the underground aquifer, through coming up and then being lost. Some percentage and such. So it's a balance there of the aesthetics, the functionality, you
Hmm.
know, and loss to our
And some loss. Okay.
some loss to the aquifers as well. So it may look good, but again, there's some small loss there as well. But that's the importance of the built environment and such, designing that right. That's why we developed that app, so the designers can say, well, hey, if we put that pond in place, that's gonna be great, but we need to do anything else, to ensure that all facets of the environment are maintained, and also we need to ask ourselves when we build these things, you know, what how do we have to change the nature of processes like traffic flows, and stuff like that, because the more traffic that we have coming by a neighborhood and community and such, the more air pollution we have, as well. So we scratched our heads with that and said, wait a minute now. So if we do this, we're going to increase the traffic flow. That's going to be emissions. And so what's so important about that? Well, those emissions drifted over to those communities, and if they're in nearby schools, studies have shown that when kids, take in those excess emissions from transportation, there could be degradation in terms of their reading ability, writing skills, computational skills. So there's a direct correlation between those transportation emissions and health. Transportation emissions, and the ability to develop cognitive skills in a proper manner. So we actually have, because of that, we actually have a project called Breathe Better Portsmouth and such. And that's where we're installing air pollution monitors along a transportation corridor, Victory Boulevard, to look at transportation emissions, coming from vans and trucks and cars and that sort of thing. And also because uh, there's a port at the end of this, we have large trucks, diesel-powered trucks coming through that's spewing out, all kinds of emissions along the way, and those emissions come right by our community in Capital Manor, right by the trailer park, on Victory Boulevard, right by Craddock, etc., on the way to the port. So we're actually putting in sensors along the way. So at our resilience hub in Capital Manor, we're going to install an air monitoring sensor that monitors something called PM 2.5. That's a very, very tiny particle that gets inside of you and it causes all kinds of bad stuff. So we're going to measure that again along Victory Boulevard. Again, we're working with some great students at Virginia Wesleyan, Anna and Mallory there. They're doing a bang up job, to get those sensors in place. So we're looking for folks to host sensors. So if you're going to host a sensor and along that corridor, either in a residential area or in a business area and such, come talk to us. Because again, for us, it's about saving lives and improving the quality of life. And making sure that we're taking the correct actions accordingly. Example: what if we find that transportation emissions, and also quickly, transportation emissions cause climate, cause extreme heat. So there's a connection. Not only is it's a pollution connection, but there's a climate and extreme heat connection as well. So we want to put what can we do? Well, if grandmama's house is right beside the highway, maybe we could put some of that old timey plastic on the window, to prevent those particles from getting inside, or maybe take grandmama's car where she hadn't used in 20 years and didn't know what it was, and take out the cap, put something around the window to seal it up, maybe we can tell the schools, we found that at 10 a.m. we have a peak in emissions. Maybe they shift their recreation time to noon, etc. So anyway, we just see what the data says, etc. But we have to inform ourselves through science, just science and such, and that's what we're doing through Breathe Better Portsmouth Project as well.
And as we wind down, and for what you just said, you remember I mentioned about the health department study and
Yeah,
the zip codes, and Kevlar Manor is in the zip code where
yeah.
where there are some issues health wise,
Uh-huh.
and there's a lot of things causing that. So you just mentioned one of them. So
Yeah.
before we go, I want you to mention again or talk about or say again how important it is. You have the scientists involved in this, but how important it is to have the everyday citizens
Oh yeah.
involved in it too, and
Uh,
how much information you get from them
yeah.
about what they see in their surroundings. So, and also give those dates again for the event
Yeah.
or where people can go
Uh-huh.
and just stay informed
Yeah.
about what's going on.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's always fun being here, and always get excited around these topics, etc. So thank you again for having me. You know, well, Portsmouth has its share of titles when it comes to being number one, number two in terms of health disparities as well.
Yeah.
The breast cancer mortality rate here is
Mhm.
ranks high in the state, particularly among African American women and such. So there's some measures be taking place through healthy Portsmouth in terms of getting at causes around why this is occurring, particularly looking at screenings, etc. So one way in which folks can get involved, we talked about the extreme heat town hall, but we're also going to do a problem solving session. Believe it or not, you know, from 9 to 1 on the same day. It's going to be centered around breast cancer and such. But the techniques and tools, and the approaches can be used by folks in communities to solve their own problems and such. So we're going to have a problem solving session embedded in the breast cancer uh, presentation, which is going to be from 9 to 1 at New Bethel, same day. Our our extreme heat is going to follow that from 1 to 2, but you can come early. If there's something wrong in your community, if you know the breast cancer rate is high in your community, or if you know that something else needs to be fixed in the community, come on out and we'll show you some problem solving techniques that you can take back to your civic league or take back to your civic organization, and not only figure out, if, you know, not figure out how to fix the cause, okay, the root of the problem, not the
Mhm.
symptom, but the root of the problem, which will help to mitigate. So again, educating ourselves about these techniques is one approach, to doing this. Secondly, come on out to the town hall, and learn why climate is still important, you know, and why we're still moving ahead with this, with state legislators and regional planners and activists and advocates and such. That's going to be from 1 to 2 to 2:15, 2:30 at New Bethel Baptist Church, in uh, in Portsmouth. We're gonna be doing a number of things there. Again, Extreme Heat Town Hall and such. We're gonna be breaking ground for our resilience hub, and we're gonna be planting some trees and installing a sensor, an air sensor for our Breathe Better Portsmouth project as well. So come on out. We got a full day of empowerment for your community, starting at 9 a.m. With our breast cancer root cause problem solving techniques and approaches session, leading directly into our extreme heat climate Breathe Better Portsmouth Resilience Hub uh, project as well. So come on out. It's about empowerment. It's about intentionally engaging our communities, towards action. Which is going to drive out interventions and solve problems. And we have a full day of opportunities for that for you as
Yeah.
well. We're excited.
And
Let's make it happen
what's
for,
that
for
date again?
that date is going to be March 8th. March 8th, starting at 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. for the breast cancer root cause. Again, embedded in that is a problem solving session for called community well-being problem solving session. So you can come out again, learn techniques how to engage folks, not only fix breast cancer. That's what we want to do, in our community, but also learn other techniques as well in terms of problem solving. Example, you have a problem with access to food or access to housing or access to transportation. These techniques can be used for that. If you see climate impacts, these techniques can be used for that as well. Again, from 1 to 2, 15 to 30, we're going to be doing extreme heat town hall. There again, it would be an extreme heat town hall, groundbreaking for our resilience hub, Bring Better Portsmouth project, and planting trees. We need folks to plant trees. We need trees to grow in Portsmouth. We did our routes. We drove around Portsmouth, and I saw the difference between some neighborhoods and other neighborhoods. Okay, who don't have trees. Okay, and it is not equal. It's not equal. We need to fix that. So here's an opportunity to do so. We want to plant 500 trees and shrubs. Come on out and help us out.
Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. And for those people, I know in school, math and science might not have been your favorite subject. It might not necessarily have been you were bad at it. It just didn't hold your attention like some of the other classes. But it's something that we really can get involved with now as far as educating yourself. You heard Garry talk about all the different things that affect your environment, and he's showing you that. That's the app. Okay. How many things can affect the environment that you probably see every day and just don't pay attention to it? So, but you can do something about it. It's simple as planting a tree, or just being involved. So the information he gave on March 8th at New Bethel Baptist Church, starting at 9 a.m., even dealing with some of the breast cancer, some of the things that the environment might have a hand in.
Yeah.
You might be saying, I don't have any history in my family of having cancer. Why am I here? Could be the environment that you're in.
That's right.
Anyway,
Absolutely.
we appreciate you coming by, stopping by and give you information like you always do. And we look forward to the next time. Like I said, this is a continuing education. And I want everybody watching to like, subscribe, and comment and share this information with somebody else. So we'll see you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm gonna go out before that snow melts. I'm gonna get my angel on. I'm building a snowman. Just like I have a snow fight with the neighbors.
Yeah. You might have a problem with the snowman with this snow. Is they're saying it's real powdery. So maybe after a few days it'll get a little harder, but they say it's real powdery. And that's usually it's not the first snow. But anyway, thanks again. We appreciate you. And we want to thank everybody for watching. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. March 28th. See you there.
It's time for us to sit down at the table and turn this chaos into something stable. For love, one-on-one. We will not accept defeat, not on our land, not in our streets. Getting it done, reaching out to save the youth, letting them know